I've been here 10 years. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, the best place for tips and tricks for living in Tokyo, as well as a bunch of nerdy things. Today's video is a special video. Why? Not just because I'm not filming on the sofa, but today, or tomorrow really, by the time this video posts, is my 10-year Japanniversary! Yay! So in honor of the 10 years I've spent in Japan, I want to talk about 10 things I wish I knew before I moved here. I always thought when I was younger that in the year 2020 we'd be flying around like the Jetsons. We're not, but maybe in the next 10 years we might be. Maybe, yeah. I thought what I'd do is I would start on a light note and I would end on a heavier note. Let's get started with number 10. I wish I'd known how to use a fax machine before I moved to Japan.
Did she just say fax machine?
Yeah, I said fax machine. One misconception about Japan is that it is this crazy high-tech country, when in reality, a lot of important documents are still faxed with a fax machine. My first job I had when I moved here, we sent important documents like class attendance, injury reports, classroom maintenance reports to our main office via fax machine. Not email, well, sometimes both, but mostly fax machine. Knowing how to use a fax machine would have made my life a lot easier. Number 9, washer-dryer combos are not a thing. That means you have to wait for a sunny day to wash your clothes because you have to hang them outside for them to dry. One of my favorite things as a kid was warm towels fresh from the dryer. I haven't experienced that in a while. Some newer apartments will come with a dryer in the bathroom and you can hang your clothes in there and you can dry them like that. However, it's a big electricity drain and a lot of people just hang their clothes outside anyway. In the kitchen, there's no such thing as a stove. In the States, for example, most apartments, even cheaper apartments, come standard with a stovetop oven combo thing. It's not a thing here, so I can't bake anything unless I buy a tiny little oven that will drive up my electricity bill. No cookies, no pies, no meatloaf, no anything like that because there's no oven. Continuing with the apartment theme, let's hop right into number 8, and that is that the apartment walls are crazy thin. The very first place I lived when I first moved to Japan was called Leo Palace. That is like an apartment complex chain. It's like the fast food of apartment complex chains, like they're everywhere. The walls were so thin on that apartment, I knew when my neighbor sneezed, I knew when my neighbor was laughing at the television, I could hear my neighbor's television, and I also could hear when he got a girlfriend. The place that we live in now, I've mentioned in previous videos, is smaller and it still has the same thin walls. I can hear when my neighbor's watching TV. I can hear when they're talking. Sometimes I can hear what they're talking about. I can hear the upstairs neighbor kid running around. It reverberates through the entire apartment. The walls are so thin here. Actually, when I film videos, I'm worried that my voice is too loud. I wish I would have known how thin the walls were. Not that I could do anything about it, but I could have at least mentally prepared for it or something. I wish I'd known how much of a cash-based society Japan actually is. I visited Japan once in college, and during that time, I did notice that it was a heavily cash-based society, but I thought that it was because I couldn't use my foreign debit or credit card. That wasn't the case. 10 years ago, when I first moved here, a lot of places did not take credit cards. A lot of places still do not take credit cards, but it's gotten better because we now have electronic payment apps on our smartphones that will let you just touch and go, but there's still no such thing as debit cards. That just does not exist here. People don't use debit cards. それでは日本語を勉強しなさい。いやもう10年間ここに住んでるんですけど、これぐらいしかできないんですよ。もちろん日常会話だとなんとかなるけど、書くこととか読むこととかもう読めない部分もあるし、で例えばね、住所を書くことになったらものすごく時間かかるの。で郵便局とか銀行に行くと住所を書くことが多いんですよね。そうもう本当にそうしたら並んでる人も待ってる人も本当にごめんなさい、本当に申し訳ない、時間かかるものです。だからここに来る前にもうちょっとしっかり勉強した方が良かったな。もうこの年だと新しいものは頭に入ってこないと思うんですよ。しかも覚えられない。だからもっと勉強しなさいって言いたい。10年前の私に。 And with that, we are more than halfway there.
Culture shock.
From the time that I was in high school, I have loved Japanese anime. I've loved Japanese culture. I've watched so many dramas. I thought I was ready to live here, but let me tell you, watching those anime and watching those dramas in your home country, is not the same as living it every day. As much as I thought I was prepared, or as much as I thought, there's no way I'm gonna experience culture shock.
Yeah, I did, and it sucked.
So one big thing that got me 10 years ago, and it still gets me today, is how much people actually work in this country. People are literally married to their jobs. It's seen as a virtue to overwork yourself. So that was a huge culture shock. I was not used to that. In the States, I was used to like starting to slowly pack up my things at 4:59 and log out of my computer at 5 o'clock and go home. That is not a thing here. It does not happen. People overwork, and it's kind of seen like as a, of course you're gonna do that when people stay an hour after they're supposed to actually be off of work. The next big thing I was not prepared for was reverse culture shock. And what that means is the culture shock I experienced when I went back to my home country. So when I went back to Texas after being in Japan, I waited maybe 3 years before I actually went home. And I was expecting to go home and it feel like home, because in my head, I was still living 3 years in the past and nothing had changed. But man, it's so different from Japan that even though it's where I grew up and Texas is my home, I love Texas. I will always call Texas my home. I experienced reverse culture shock when I went back home. Like, for example, it's loud. I kind of forgot how frank Americans were, or Texans are really. So what I mean by that is you say what's on your mind, which is a good thing. You should. In Japan, people don't do that. So here's what they want to say, and they talk in circles around it. In Texas, people just say it. It was shocking to be around that again. I feel like everything is more colorful in Texas or in America. Here, like clothes and home decor and restaurant menus, I feel like it's a lot more subtle and a lot more subdued in color. And like, for example, in my hometown, we have a restaurant called Sonic Drive-In, and even the sign is like really, really colorful and it grabs your attention. And then you look at the menu and there's all sorts of colors that pop out. I didn't ever notice that until I went back home. I love it. It's just different. Okay, we're almost done. Just 2 more. The next one is kind of hard to say, and I really hope I don't cry. 10 years ago, I didn't know that when I got on that airplane and I packed up my life and I moved to Japan, that I was essentially saying goodbye. I didn't know that there would be people I would never see again. I didn't know that things would never go back to the way they were. I didn't know that my life would change as much as it did. Of course, I'm still friends with people from back home. Of course, I still talk to my family. Of course, but the relationship will never be the same again. Why? Because I'm not there. And even if I moved back home tomorrow, there's 10 years worth of things that I haven't been there for physically. I don't know, there's 10 years worth of like inside jokes. There's 10 years worth of just things that happened to people that I wasn't there for. And I know when we talk on the phone or when we talk online, when we FaceTime, I know there's things that people aren't telling me just because they forgot. You don't remember everything that happens in your daily life, right? There's things that I've missed. That's just part of it, but I did not realize that 10 years ago. I didn't know how much things would change. That does not mean change is bad. It just means that change is different, right? I didn't know that I was saying goodbye to that life. And that brings us to the number 1 item on the list of 10 things I wish I'd known 10 years ago, and that is I will probably never move back to Texas. I will probably never move out of Tokyo. My husband is here. My life is here now. And 10 years ago, I didn't know that would be a thing. 10 years ago, when I got on that plane to come to Japan, I was only supposed to be here for 1 year. 1 year turned into 2, turned into 3, and now here I am 10 years later, and this is literally my home. I can't imagine my life any other way. Yes, there are still challenges every single day. Yes, there is still a language barrier every single day. Yes, I get into arguments with my husband, not every day, sometimes. Yes, I want to pack up my bags and move back to Texas sometimes, but it's always passing thought. But 10 years ago, I didn't know that I would never live in Texas again. I don't know if somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew that getting on that plane was like, this is how my life's gonna be from now on. I'm never coming back here. I don't know, but I'm glad I did. So happy 10-year Japanniversary to me. I'm excited to see what the next 10 years brings. I wonder what my life will look like 10 years from now. I wonder what your life will look like 10 years from now. If you could go back 10 years and tell yourself anything, what would it be? Leave a comment below and let me know. I don't know if I would have known this stuff 10 years ago if it would have made any difference, but it's worth thinking about. Thank you so much for celebrating 10 years with me. Thank you so much for watching this video. Who knows what the future will bring? I know I have a lot of good things planned for this channel, so I hope you stick around for that. Yeah? Before you leave, don't forget to like this video, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. I hope to see you in the next one. Y'all have a good week.